What's up guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video, I'll be doing a character analysis. Now, I know you guys might be a little confused, but basically what that is I'm just going to be looking at the character, going through stats, and at the end of the video, I'll be giving him a ranking out of 10. So like, 1 through 10. 10 being like, he's a really good character, the best character in the game, 1 being he's garbage and don't use him at all. So that's what I'll be doing in today's video. If you guys enjoy, make sure you like and subscribe with the bonus to never awesome videos, and let's get into the video. So, starting off, we'll go off with the Peashooter, just because he's a pretty well-known and pretty basic character, so I think it's just right if we start off here. So, we'll start off with health. So, the normal Peashooter has a 125 health, and this is just base. There's no upgrades, no nothing, just base Peashooter. Goes off with 125 health, and I'm not going to be doing any variants, it'll just be base. So, this will just be a base character, I'm not going to be doing any sort of variants, and there will be no upgrades. So just base, no upgrades, that's what I'm going off of. And no variants, but just 125 health, no upgrades. So primary weapon being the P cannon with 10 shots in it. And it does about 25 to 35 with critical damage and 10 splash damage. And the abilities being the chili bomb, P gatling, and the hyper mode. So now I'll be breaking down all of these. So we'll start off just with probably the primary weapon, which is the P cannon. Now, honestly, I think this primary weapon is actually, it's pretty decent. Now the only reason I have it decent is because if you were on like just flat ground and you're going against like another zombie, you're probably gonna lose just because you really require splash damage, and if you're not really above your opponent, it's gonna be really hard to get that splash damage off. It is very hard to sometimes like hit someone, especially if they're moving around, because of course if they're standing still it's gonna be pretty easy and you will do some good damage. But I just think like maybe it's just a lot easier, just hit splash damage. I think that's where most of this character comes in from, is just hitting splash damage. So sometimes it's sort of hard to use his primary, that's what I'm just saying. Like without splash damage it's pretty hard to use him, and I think he mainly requires splash damage. So overall, I think that his primary is pretty decent, and he does have 10 shots, so judging off if you hit every shot with splash damage, you will do 100 damage, which is good, and if you hit every shot on the body, you could do up to 250 damage. So he does have a pretty good damage range, in my opinion. I think it actually goes up pretty high. I think this character actually he's a good potential character. He's definitely very playable. It's not like you're going to do bad with this character. You're going to have a good game with this character. So overall, the primary is pretty decent. It does have some issues, but other than that, it's pretty good. So now we'll move on to his abilities. So starting off, we'll just go left to right. So starting off with the chili beam bomb. And I don't really think this is such a good like ability, and here's why. It's because it's like it has a timer on it. It's like a grenade, and when you throw it on the ground, people can see that and they can just run away from it, and it can sometimes be kind of hard to get kills. But I mean, sometimes you can get people off guard, but sometimes you can like catch people off guard and then they won't even notice and they'll get blown up. But this does a lot of damage. This is a really good ability damage wise, and you can like one hit almost everyone. So damage wise, the chili bean's good. But sometimes I think it can be kind of hard to play with, and I don't really see it being the most like usable and like versatile like ability. So in my opinion, this definitely isn't one of the best abilities in the game. It's just kind of hard to use and people can avoid it pretty easily. That's why I just don't really like this that much. So I'm not too big of a fan of the chili beam bomb. I find it kind of hard to use, and damage wise it's good, but other than that it's not that good. So now we got the P gatling, the center ability, and this is like the Y ability for me. And this ability is actually really good. You get a little bit of health upgrade from this, which is very helpful, especially since you can't move. So the P gatling is very helpful. It does a lot of damage, and it shoots very fast, like very fast. So the P gatling is definitely it definitely kind of carries this character because it does so much damage. It's so just good to use, especially if you're on a rooftop and you use this, you get a lot of kills. It works out really well. So I think the P gatling is actually a really good ability and very helpful to the Peashooter. And the last ability is the hyper mode, and honestly this is a really good ability. This one also sort of carries the Peashooter because what this one does is gives you a speed boost and like a jump boost. And the reason this is so important, because if you have that jump boost, like I said with the Peashooter, it mainly requires splash damage, so you can like jump up higher than your opponents. You can sort of like shoot down on them, and you can get that extra damage. This also helps getting on rooftops, and like I said with the P gatling, you can like use it on rooftops. So I think this is very versatile and has many uses to it. It definitely helps the playstyle of Peashooter a lot. So this is like a really good ability. I really like this one. It's very helpful. So overall, The Peashooter is a very good character. It does a lot of damage. It has a solid damage output. It has 125 HP, which in my opinion is pretty, like, it's actually decent. It's a little above average in my opinion. Definitely can survive some shots, but it's not the greatest. So Peashooter is a very solid character and one of the better ones in my opinion, just for being base characters. So my final ranking of the Peashooter will honestly probably be a 7 out of 10. And that's mainly just because it can be a little hard to use, just because of the splash damage and health and damage wise, it's not the greatest. But it does have the abilities to make up for it. So I'm probably going to have to give it maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. Because it is very playable and it's very fun to use. So the Peashooter is definitely a better character. And the Peashooter is a good character. So the Peashooter is definitely a very good character and very playable. And you definitely can have a good game with this character. But that is going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe with the bell so there are awesome videos. And if you guys would like to see more videos like this, let us know in the comments down below. We'll see you guys in the next video.